Okay.
Good morning and welcome to News and Politics Today with Renee and Calvin Boston Hill. We are here. Wow, Calvin, good morning. It's August the 1st and we are here at Awesome Radio 106.9 WBISLP. And our call-in number, should you choose to join the conversation, is on the screen here on the Facebook Live, but it's also 252-756-2008. So, Calvin, how was your weekend?
My weekend was good, Renee. We did a lot of work around the house, and we were busy, but it was good. It was a good weekend.
Okay, so we always start the show because even though people want to believe that COVID is dead and that it's moved on, we still have to talk about it because people are still contracting the COVID. As you know, our president of this United States, President Biden, he contracted the COVID. He went on a pill regimen, Calvin, and he tested negative, but now he's back testing positive. So again, it's critical that we pay attention and we take responsibility for our health. And I'm sure the president did, but even though when you do it, you can still contract this virus. I got to see people just on Facebook or on the net, Calvin, that have contracted the monkeypox. And this person, once they contracted it, they did a 10-day survey of how, when they first got it, they might have had one or two pox on their face. But then by day 10, it was so scary, I had to stop looking at it.
I can understand, it's really bad.
But again, we're just asking that you wear your mask, continue to wear your mask. Calvin and I, we're ordering more masks, not the cloth, but the ones that they use in the hospital or, at the different health.
Yeah, the N95 mask. Those are the ones we wear. And with those, for our Awesome Radio listeners, they are very good, but they can be, you can't wear them long. If you're going to go in the store and do some shopping, it's okay, but you can't wear them. I wouldn't suggest you wear them all day.
Okay, so moving on to the next topic. We have 99 days before the midterm election. And as we are moving out and about and we're looking at some news on the TV and some cable news, there are words, Calvin, that are being thrown around. And I just thought that it was important before we get into our conversation to give the definitions of those words so that when you hear them, you'll be empowered to say, well, and to make choices, because we have to understand that we have people who are on the ballot who, number one, they are election deniers. We have people on the ballot who did not vote to certify the election and the win of President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. So what we want to do is to let you understand that this is the most important election historically in our lifetime. And the reason why I'm saying that is that there are people who actually are not happy with the democracy. They're siding with Russia and other countries that have an authoritarian government, meaning that they practice a dictatorship. So democracy versus authoritarian, what is the difference? I'm just going to read the definition. Upon learning, this is a very natural to wonder exactly what are the differences between democracy versus authoritarian. In a democracy, citizens choose elected representatives through a free and fair election, and under which the governed have individual freedoms and rights under the law. In an authoritarian regime, political power is concentrated among a small elite or even one ruler who are not bound to be responsible to the people they govern. So again, um, the choice will be yours. If you go to the ballot, you'll be making that decision based on who you're voting for. And we always say that you should educate yourself on the different candidates that are running. Again, we speak about incumbent. An incumbent, an incumbent is a person who is currently in the position and they're seeking to go back in or to maintain their position. So they're going to come again with their platform, and the platform is what a candidate is running on. And last year, a candidate might have run on, oh, I'm going to fix your house. I'm going to put money into the community and make sure that your well water is clean. There's no sewage backing up. There's so many different things. And then here it is, they've been in office for 2 years, 4 years, and now they're back seeking your vote. So you go back that time, you take their platform, and now you compare it to what it is that they're running. But did they do do what they said they were going to do? We know that there are quite a few candidates. Number one, who I consider, Calvin, do nothing candidates, because they are not supporting the people who put them in the office, and they're not actually voting on things that are going to benefit their lives. But yet they want you to vote again. So one of the things, Calvin, just so we know, the veterans bill. They didn't vote on the veterans bill, and I know John Stewart. He was very verbal. But what was that bill exactly, and how would it benefit veterans?
Well, let me just go back a little bit, Renee, because what I want to discuss is, this bill. I'm just going to go over some bill to help burn pit victims, inspired by Ohio veterans, delayed by U.S. Senate Republicans. A bill named for an Ohio veteran that aims to support those exposed to toxic burn pits was delayed by the U.S. Senate. This was last Wednesday. Frustrated advocates who have fought for a quite quick passage. Now, that burn pit, a lot of us don't know what that is, but I'm going to explain to you what it is, because of veterans, we know what it is. And that means that you take diesel fuel and you burn the waste, the feces. You burn that, and that gives off a toxic. It's the smoke that it gives off. It's the smell that it gives off. And we had that in Vietnam, and anytime you're in war, you have these places where you go and you defecate and then you burn it. That's the way that is. Now, what happened is, though, you got to remember the Agent Orange crisis. I call it a crisis because so many of veterans, got Agent Orange. We were hit with that Agent Orange. Then we came back to the United States now. It took years and years and years for the government to accept the fact that veterans were hit with Agent Orange and it caused different illnesses, heart disease, liver disease, high blood pressure, all these different diseases, elements that it caused. Now we have the burn pits here, a group of Republican senators, including Ohio Senator Rob Portman, derailed a procedure vote on the measures weeks after the Senate overwhelmingly approved it. Now, the Senate approved it, but the Senate had to take it up a second time because the House made a slight change into the original bill. The roll call report. Last Wednesday, votes caught Democrats and other supporters by surprise. And this is the thing, for whatever reason, Republicans decided that their political calculation and their politics are more important than what we do for our nation's veterans. This is what you have to look at. Again, we never tell you who to vote for, but we also tell you to look at the report cards of individuals that we send to represent us, because now you get all these Republicans out there that did not vote for this bill, to help our veterans with this bill. And this will eventually hurt veterans. So we got to pay close attention to this, because just as sure as I'm talking to you now, it's going to affect veterans down the road if it haven't affected some already. I'm pretty sure that based on what I know, okay, as a veteran, this has affected veterans already. These burn pits will affect veterans and make them ill, make them sick, and some will die because of this. This is how important this bill is. We need to make sure that we call our representatives and get this bill passed.
Okay. Well, another word, Calvin, that keeps being thrown around is recession. And so just I'm not going to go all into an elaborate, but recession is basically a slowdown in general economic activity. And the president Biden, he says that no, we are not in a recession because there are so many jobs that are out there. We are moving along. Gas prices are down, and we know that they're down because when we go to the pump, based on what it was a month ago, that is not the same amount of money that we're paying right now at the pump. Could it go down a little bit more? Yes. Will it go down a little bit more? President Biden says it will. However, the party of not voting for things, they're saying that we're in a recession because anything that they can find right now to bring things down to discourage people, to say, well, listen, I'm in this doldrum. Well, yes, we are in a doldrum, but we should be able to see some light at the end of the tunnel. You want to say something?
Yes, I have to get this out there because it's burning me. The fact that when prices of gas was going up, not everyone, but the Republicans were blaming President Biden for the prices going up. Now that the prices are going down, you don't hear nothing. It's like you're just walking at night and there's no sound. So why is it that we don't give credit where credit is due when it's due? If you're gonna give him the blame or the credit when it go up, then you also need to give him the credit when it go down. Even though he cannot control, he has no control over the price of gas. But when I say we, I'm not talking about me personally, okay? But we here in the United States, so many of us, at least a third of us, believe that he's the one that caused the prices of gas to go up. So that third should also come right back now and say, thank you for making the prices go down.
And it's not only that, President Biden does not have control over gas prices. And the first quarter of this year, the major oil companies, they had over 100% increase or profit in selling gas. So if they made so much money, which I heard that putting it back into the company, buying more stocks, they should pass some of their winnings on to the American people. They should start to use some of those pumping permits that they have to pump more gas so that there can be a release and a freedom. Because when gas prices go down, that means that the truck drivers who have to put gas to get their products all around the country, they can do it more freely because they're able to see some of their profits also.
I just want to comment on that because I'm going to add to what you just said, Renee, if you don't mind. The fact that, the truck drivers, they are paying a lot for gas. But now when they go home and now they go shopping with their wife, well, they're paying another price. So they're getting double dipped with these prices because the price of food has gone up. So now they got to pay higher prices for food, and then they got to pay higher price for delivering the food. So that's why it's so important at this point in time to give credit where credit is due. The price is going down.
Okay. So again, we must vote. Okay. That's all I can say. I know that you have been disappointed, but thinking about with the Build Back Better. And the reason why the Build Back Better bill didn't pass, it's not because something that President Biden, in order for bills and things to move ahead, it's voted on. And who votes on is our Congress people in Washington, who we sent there, and also the people, our state. our state legislators, they vote on things also. Our state legislators here in North Carolina they have not passed the Medicaid expansion bill, which would make a big difference to so many families. I do know that one of the bills that are being looked upon in Washington right now, in addition to the chip bill that passed the Inflation Reduction Act. And that act, okay, which we need to call again our senators, you can use the five-caller app. You, even if you're a senator like ours here that represent us in Washington, they are Republicans, but it doesn't mean that we can't get in their ear and let them know these are the things that we need for them to do for us. So the Inflation Reduction Act, that will help with drug pricing. I could not believe, Calvin, how people who are insulin dependent, how they are paying so much money for their insulin. And with this bill passing, what will happen, it would allow Medicare to negotiate prices with drug companies. Is that not something to call your senators about, to get them to say, well, listen, I need for you to vote for this bill? So it will also, with Obamacare, Affordable Care Act, this month or next month or this time, prices are scheduled to go up for the premiums for the Obamacare, Affordable Care Act. And with this bill, the Inflation Reduction Act, what's in that bill is to lower the cost of health care. So if you are on one of those plans, they are going to be able to cap it for the next 3 years. If the chip bill, it did pass to boost the U.S. Reduction. And what the reduction is that it's going to allow us to start doing manufacturing that has been farmed out overseas to bring this back home. And when this bill passes, which it did pass the Senate, and it's going on to the president's desk, it will allow more jobs. It will allow the different things. And it says here the chip bill, meanwhile, will designate $52 billion in subsidies and provide roughly $24 billion, and that's big money, in tax credits for the new chip manufacturing facilities. It also includes more than $100 billion in authorization of 5 years to 3 years agency investments in research and development. So the CHIP Act is going to be a bill that's going to help us be able to get, like, rather than wait for China to send us some chips or some to put into our cars or into our various appliances, we're going to have them here, and so they will go out. And these are good paying jobs that this bill is going to create. So again, hats off to the Senate. There were some crossovers. Some Republicans did vote also for this bill, understanding that if a bill is put out on the floor, the House has a majority, the House of Representatives in Congress in Washington. So if they put a bill there, the bill will pass. However, if they don't maintain the security or maintain the majority, if they lose the majority because they don't get these seats passed again in the midterms, then a lot of stuff will not get through. And again, people are working for the people. All right?
Well, you know, Renee, and you're so right there. You know, the people, you know, we send individual candidates to North Carolina Assembly. We send them to DC, you know. And then the thing is, I always say that the people that we send there are followers and not leaders. And the reason I make that statement is because they should be following what the constituents that sent them there want. Instead, what they do is they get there and then they want to start collecting money from different organizations to get reelected again. And they start thinking of themselves versus what the individuals wanted them to do when they went there. And the thing is, they always say what they think we want to hear when it comes time to reelect them. But we have to look at their report card.
All right, so we're coming up for our first break. That was fast.
We didn't speak about the general election yet, right?
We've been talking about all along.
I'm like the date.
No. And welcome back to News and Politics Today with Renee and Calvin Boston Hill. We are here at Awesome Radio, 106.9 FM, WBISLP. And I would like to have some call-ins at 252-756-2008, Calvin, of people, because we're saying that the Republicans are not doing what we sent them to. Well, we didn't really send them, but they won the election, and they're there in Washington, and they're not voting on things. But perhaps they will call in to let this listening audience know, well, this is why I didn't vote for that bill. This is why I did not want to vote for the veterans bill. This is why I did not want to vote for baby formula. This is why the Build Back Better, which had lifted so many families out of poverty. But what's on the ballot, okay, is our democracy. If you want the freedom to vote and to go into your vote to count, then it's important that you pay attention and you go and you learn your candidates, make a plan, and go to vote this November. There are about maybe 5 states right now that are having primaries. Because our voice is heard in so many countries and states, if you are living in one of those states where you have a primary, don't sit it out, participate. What is on the ballot also is gun reform. We wanted to make sure that we get proper gun reforms, meaning that there's no reason to sell an AR gun. There's no reason why you can't do background checks. There's no reason why we can't flag people who are mentally, and they have access, not only because we have parents who are buying these dangerous weapons and giving them to their children. And that's something else that needs to be put in the gun reform bill, holding parents accountable when they purchase guns and they know their children are not stable, and they let them have access to it. What is also on the ballot is police reform. If you want to make sure the George Floyd, and probably when it comes up again, it won't be called George Floyd. However, there will be police reform, meaning that whatever it takes to make policing not a threat to the Black and brown community, but something or a form of or institution that people can feel like, okay, if I call the police, I won't die for calling them. So again, the reason why the George Floyd bill didn't pass is because in the Senate, we have 50 Democrats, 50 Republicans. And if we did not have the filibuster would have if it didn't happen, the fact that there are 50, Vice President Kamala Harris would have been able to break a tie, and that bill, George Floyd bill, would have passed. So we need to make sure that the party that is voting to improve the quality of life of people, that they get the majority in not only the House, but also in the Senate. So this is what's on the ballot. Don't think, okay, Calvin, I wonder if we have any young people out there that want to call in to tell us how and what they're doing to get this vote. 252-756-2008. We want to hear from everybody to say, well, listen, this is why I'm going to vote in the midterms. Voting reform, that was called the John Lewis. Everybody loved John Lewis, but when it came time to pass that bill, they didn't pass it. And we know that we need to have federal bills for voting to be put in place, because once it's in place, then all these state voter suppressions, things that they're doing, the federal law would override it. And then the dark money that keeps coming into these certain parties, like the NRA Unlimited, the drug Unlimited, going to candidates. There with the HR 1, which did not pass, but it doesn't mean if we have a majority in the Senate that dark money will be exposed. And maybe it won't be called HR 1, but it'd be called something else. Now, a month ago, Roe versus Wade, that bill was overturned by our I won't call it the corrupt
Supreme Court. Four, five of the Supreme Court justices.
Okay, but the reproduction freedom, that bill is on it. When people, and particularly men, can vote and say what people can do, women can do with their body, it is throwing us back so many years, because the Roe versus Wade was in place for 50 years, but they never made it a federal bill. So now the individual states are putting in these abortion bans. Again, I'm pro-life, but I'm also most definitely pro-choice. I believe that people should do what they feel, and no law or a man should come in. And you can talk about that too, Calvin. No man should tell me what I'm going to do with my body.
Well, I have to agree with you. Men, and look at the age of these men that's on the Supreme Court that's saying, they want to control a woman's body. They want to decide whether they can have a baby or not. But the thing too, Renee, is that they're saying that they have to let the baby, the child or the fetus, be born. But now once it's born, they could care less, because if they cared, then they would be doing something about the babies that are born now. They would be helping these families, but they don't want to help the families now. They take everything they can from these families. So what are we saying? We're saying, well, we want the baby to be born, but we're not going to help the family once the baby is here. Because if you got a 12-year-old or 10-year-old or 15-year-old that's going to have a child, a baby, then how are they going to support that baby? They don't know how to work yet. They can't work. They first of all, they're too young to work. In most states, you got to be 15 or 16 to even get a part-time job. And then you got to go to that community, that city, to get permission to work. So my thing here, Renee, is that we have to pay attention to these individuals. And I'm saying, and this is my opinion, and Biden, I'm against him on this, but he said he don't want to add any more people on the Supreme Court. I say we need to add at least 4 more people on the Supreme Court. In order to do that, we got to win back the Senate. We got to get the Senate, and then we can add more people onto the Supreme Court. That's my opinion on that.
Okay, so, and then talking about the Supreme Court, last week, we know Clarence Thomas. And I found out some more information about Clarence Thomas, our Supreme Court judge. Of course, we know that he's married to Jenny Thomas, and we know that she was very involved in the insurrection. And again, listening audience, if you don't have a reason to vote based on the insurrection and what they did and who was behind it. And I'm just hoping now that with the Attorney General looking more closely and getting more involved. That the person who instigated the insurrection, along with his partners in crime, Eastman and Giuliani.
Giuliani.
Okay. With that being said, I'm hoping that Trump be held accountable for the loss of lives of the police officers and just the defecations that they did in the Capitol. Also, the fact that the people were there and they were so inspired to hang Mike Pence, also to kill or to murder Nancy Pelosi and a few other of the representatives. So we have got to make sure that people are held accountable. If I do something wrong, rest assured, Calvin, they will throw me in. They will throw me under the jail, in the jail.
Well, Renee, and you can see anybody that has a mind of their own, okay. But a lot of people that's following this cult do not have a mind of their own. But if you, like I said, if you have a mind of your own, then you can see, well, this was well planned out. It didn't just happen one day. Because how are you going to get a noose there on the Capitol grounds and build it, with all the wood that it took and nails and hammer and screws to put it together? Someone had to see that when they were putting it together. But we need to just pay attention. Look at, what was his name? Jordan, when he was going by there, he gave them the fist, the bump,
No, it wasn't Jordan. It was Holly.
Holly, right. Well, and now if you look, you saw him running for his life when they really got into the Capitol. So this is the thing. We got to pay attention to these individuals. Now, what happened, Renee, is this.
So we're coming up for another break. News and politics. And welcome back to News and Politics Today with Renee and Calvin Boston Hill. We are here at Awesome Radio, 106.9 WBISLP. So there are so many ways, Calvin, that we can get people to view our show. If you can't catch us live, you can always go back to the playback. I always post it in my story. And we're also viewing live on Awesome Radio, the website. So check us out, and tell us how you feel. And perhaps maybe at 252-756-2008, we might have, because we never know, Calvin, who is listening to us, but we could actually have people who are disagreeing with us, and we're giving them the opportunity. Maybe it's one of those Republicans who think that the government is going in the wrong direction, and having a Republican control can put this government in the right track. The number is 252-756-2008. But what is on the ballot, okay, or who are running to try to get elected positions are election deniers. Those are the people, let me explain and break that down. Election deniers are people who are denying that President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris did not win the race. And it was proved in so many ways that they are the winners. And then we have Trump, who is spreading the lie, and people have gotten so deep into his lie that they're still believing it. And they're running for elected positions. And it's so important that they identify, they're very proud to be supporters of Trump. They're very proud to be election deniers. And we have some of those same people, Calvin, that are going to be on the ballot. That some are running tomorrow in the primaries. And then we have some who are seeking re-election. We have people who are in elected positions and still putting that lie out that Trump won the election.
Well, Renee, I have to agree with you, but I just want to say this here. Individuals that we elect, they go to Washington, D.C., and they're different when they go there as to when they come back to their home state. Because now when they come back to their home state, they know individuals know them, and they think they're okay. But how can they be okay when they go to Washington now and then vote against what you want them to do? So this is what you have to look at. That's why I always say, Renee, look at the report card. Listen with the third ear to these individuals when they're speaking. Because so many times we pick up on what they're not saying, and what they're not saying means a lot sometimes.
And then also they're coming home. Okay, these same candidates that are in Washington, they have health care forever. Okay, but meanwhile, the poorest of poor are voting these people in. Meanwhile, they're also voting not to have Medicaid expansion. They're voting against baby formula. They're voting against so many things, and they're going to come in. They're going to look for money. They are taking kickbacks from NRA. They're taking kickbacks from the drug companies. There are so many people who are lobbying them and being paid to lobby it, and then they're funding their elections. So here it is now. If they claim there's a recession going on, there's not a lot of money out there, but yet they want you to contribute to their campaign. And before you send $1 off for an individual, know their platform and know why they deserve your vote. And these people who are encumbrance, they are already in the position, and a lot of them are up for re-elections all throughout this America, USA. So know why they deserve to get your vote.
You touched something related I gotta speak on. Medicaid expansion. Like you said, these individuals that we send to Washington, they have, health insurance, forever now. And yet they will not give you the health care that they have. Of course, they're not going to give that to you. However, they won't even give you Medicaid expansion. Medicaid expansion will help over 600,000 people right here in North Carolina, in more ways than one. So how can you vote for someone that will not give you what you need? Not what you want, but what you need. And what you need is health care. So affordable health care. That's what you need. But yet they have it, and they're going to always have it once we send them to Washington. However, I'm just repeating myself, they don't want you to have health care. So how can you send them back to Washington?
And the thing also with the gun control, Calvin, some schools in some states opened up today, August the 1st. Some schools are going to be opening up throughout this month of August and also September. Now, without having proper gun control, as a parent, as a grandparent, how safe do you feel sending your child back to school when you know that these ARs are being pushed and sold openly in so many states? And this is where, again, you have got to call your congressperson and tell them, I need to have sensible gun control reform. And that's something, again, that's just so important. Now, Calvin, we didn't mention that we lost two great people over the weekend. Nichelle Nichols, she died from Star Trek at 89, age 89, and our basketball player coach, Mr. Bill Russell, he died at 88. Do you have anything on that?
Yes, because you said basketball player.
I know I changed it to coach also. He was a lot of stuff.
Okay, but he was also an activist. You know, a lot of people don't know that, but Bill Russell not only was an activist, but he also received the Medal of Freedom, you know, from the president. And he played in the 1956 Olympics and won gold medals. I don't know if people know about that.
I didn't know about that. I didn't know that detail.
Okay, not only that, but he was born in 1934. That's when he was born. And the thing with Bill Russell is that he's really from North Louisiana. You know, a lot of people don't know that. You know, but he made history. He made history in so many different ways because he played at this Jesuit school, and they won 55 straight games. You know, and he got a tournament. He became the most outstanding player in 1955 and is a two-time All-American. These are things that, you know, we don't really know those things about him. We know that he played basketball. We know that he was a coach. But did you know that he also was an activist? He was right there with Martin Luther King. You know, he supported Martin Luther King in more ways than one. So these are the things that we need to look at our individuals. You know, we say, well, he's an athlete. Sure, he's an athlete. But what else was he? After basketball, he was so many other things. Not only was he a coach, Renee, but he was a playing coach. And that makes a difference right there alone, because the average coach does not play. Okay, but he was a playing coach. That meant that he was out there with his team on the court, you know, playing just like they are. So that's what it's all about. Bill Russell will be missed in this United States of America. He was a great player, great coach, great family man, and a great activist.
Okay, and then we have Nichelle Nichols from Star Trek. She was an American actress, singer, and dancer, best known for her portrayal of Nota Yua in Star Trek. I know I'm saying that incorrectly. The original series and its film sequels. Nicholas' portrayal of Yua was groundbreaking for African American female characters on American television from 1977. A little known was that her name, she was born, Grace Del Nicholas, was born the third of six children on December 28, 1932, in Robertson, the suburbs of Chicago, Illinois, to Samuel Earl Nicholas, a factory worker who was elected both town mayor of Robbins in 1929. So again, they will be missed, but they are legendary, and they made such an impact in all of our lives, growing up looking at Star Trek and watching the basketball. You have something to say?
I have something to say about Nichelle, because a lot of people might not be aware of this. Two things. One, you know, she made history when Kurt kissed her on the show, in that show, and there was such an uproar in the United States that a white man kissed a black woman on TV. They wanted her off, and so many people, and she was ready to leave, but so many individuals spoke to her and made her stay because of the important role. She didn't realize the important role that she had. Not only that, Renee, when she left Star Trek, she went and started helping NASA recruit black women and black men. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
That was her forte right there. Because of her, today, there are so many black individuals that are working for NASA.
Okay. Again, they will truly be missed, but they left a legacy that we will remember, and we'll be able to talk to our children about it because they made history. and may their soul rest in peace. Also, again, I'm going to, because our show is about to come to an end, Calvin.
Oh, we have a long time, Renee. We got a long time to go.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, 4 minutes?
No. Oh, no. We got about 8 minutes.
Okay, so, alrighty, so anyway, so what's on the ballot again? Our democracy is on the ballot. Remember, if you start hearing words and you don't understand them, ask somebody to Google it. You Google it and get the definitions, because this terminology that they are running around, sometimes it can sound intimidating, but it's not intimidating. It just means that there's a word, and these words are in the dictionary. So that means that they've been around for a while. However, when they start to sugarcoat and call things out of the names of reality, of what we know it to be, then that means we need to take heed to it. So democracy, meaning the freedom to choose who you want to be your elected official, and understand that the election deniers are going on, meaning that they believe in the Trump theme of falsifying documents, and the January 6th committee is doing such a fabulous job. They'll be back on in September. But in the meantime, we have to do our own homework on these candidates and find out exactly, dig deep to find out how they're gonna be. You don't want election deniers becoming attorney generals, because that position has the Board of Elections reporting up to it. And we already know that Trump and his election deniers tried to switch votes, tried to deny votes that were put in there so that he could maintain power. The other part of it is that if you have a plan, that means you have to check periodically to make sure that if you're in one of those states, or not one of those states, that you have not been purged off the voting roster. It's important, okay, that you make a plan and understand that if you're in one of those states, excuse me, and you're at the sound of my voice, make sure that you participate in the primary, and you make sure that the candidate that is going to represent you is not supporting the election denier cause. Okay, and we just hope that the Attorney General, that he does what he needs to do to make sure that everybody who fought in the insurrection, that they are held accountable.
Well, I just want to say a couple of things, Renee. A couple of shows back, we were talking about how China was in Africa and how they were helping the people over there. But we also didn't discuss the fact that China is also helping themselves with the gold out of Africa. And they're not supposed to be doing it, but they got around it because the United States and China and Africa, they all have something that we should not be doing.
So, okay, so and then another country, okay, we know that certain sanctions were put on Russia because of the Ukraine war, and Russia in Sudan is going in there mining the gold that is in that country, and then they are using it as resources to fund the war. So it's not only. It's not.
Let me just track back. I said China, but I meant Russia. Let me just come back on that.
Okay. I didn't want to say I was correcting you.
It's okay. You've been correct. That's what the show is about, is making sure we give out the right information.
Yes. So again, my listening audience, and I thank you all for your opinions. I thank you for your comments. I thank you for tuning in every Monday at 10 o'clock to Awesome Radio 106.9 FM WBISLP. And we look forward to, again, conversations. We look forward to helping to educate you to get a plan, check your voting status. And if you know of any 17-year-old who's going to be 18 by November, get them registered. We had some people working with us this weekend, and we asked, are you registered? And they said no. How old are you? 18? You must register. We need all the votes. We need all the people out there at the polls doing their due diligence, doing their job. It's a job to vote, and it's a big responsibility that no one should be taking for granted.
I mean, we always say vote. Again, we never tell you who to vote for, but we give you a report on individuals, not necessarily the individual, but whether they're a GOP, Republicans, or they're Democrats. We give you the information. And now it's up to you whether you want to vote for them or not. It's so important that we vote and know who you're voting for. I just can't stress how important it is. And again, wear your mask. We're going to say that every show, to wear your mask.
And then also check out the election deniers, the ones who are not supporting President Biden, the ones that did not vote to certify the election. I guess maybe next show I'll call their names out again.
Well, that's a good idea.
Particularly the ones, and maybe you want to call in and let me know the election deniers from your state, because we need to call these people out. They need to be held accountable for what they're doing, because if they go back into office, they are only going to support the lie.
Well, that's the main thing right there. They're going to support the lie because it's a cult. A cult is going to follow whatever the leader says. But, I'm beginning to see a change in this cult, Renee. We'll talk about that a little bit more next week. But I'm beginning to see a slight change in who's running it now. And that is so important as well.
Yep. And again, we will be back. And I do know, okay, that up until the time that we go off the air, Calvin, I am going to keep saying what is on the ballot. Maybe they're going to wake up and then say, was I dreaming? Or was that Renee and Calvin talking about what was on the ballot? Because that's what I remember. I remember democracy versus autocrat, meaning that if we vote and our vote says based on the numbers that this is a person who won the election, and then you have election deniers or election deniers, meaning that Trump lost, but they keep saying he won. If they win, then they can very well go and make changes to the actual elections to put in the people who they want to run the election.
There's people still out there, Renee, thinking that he's flying around in Air Force One. It's unbelievable what people will believe.
Okay, and again, we have to support and lend support, okay, to people who are actually having their lives threatened, particularly people like I heard there was a candidate that was a Democratic candidate and he was attacked. People are being attacked, and I believe that we need to make sure that laws are passed, number one, to get that Supreme Court under control. I was getting ready to mention that Clarence Thomas, he was a professor at a particular college, and they protested and he had to resign. And I think that if we put a heavy pressure demonstrating and letting our views be heard, this Supreme Court will get themselves in order, or we need to find a way to do term limits. Everybody needs to have term limits at this point. We need some of those people that are not functioning properly in Congress, in the General Assembly. They cannot just think that they should always just have a position. They need to be voted in, voted out based on their record.
Well, I sort of agree with you, but I also have to say, if we have term limits, then I don't think we'd have had a John Lewis. If we had.
All righty. So listen, come back next week. Awesome Radio. Good show, honey. Good show.
Finally.